All right, it's officially here, SEC basketball. Good way for us to kick it off with a really good team, talented team, extremely tough and competitive team, focused team, motivated team. And so I only say those because you don't accidentally carve your way into a win against a team like that. And so our guys earned it, and it was good. Thought the crowd was really good. Super appreciative of all the students that came back early. We had a good student contingency there, and we had a little event yesterday, and I saw a lot of those people that were at the game today, and so great crowd. So I said it to them last night. If you think that the home court advantage doesn't really make a difference, then that's unfortunate. So we'll continue to try to grow that number. But really good game. Both teams fought and played really hard. They have a good team. I don't think before I walked in here anybody was doubting whether they had a good team. They have a good team, and so it's a good game for us.
Lamont gets down to 2 with 22 seconds left, and then Meechie picks off that pass. First, when he was going for it, what were you thinking? Did you think anything? And then when he was going to the line, any doubt in your mind that he was about to lock it down?
Yeah, I mean, you get in those moments. We had, they made a couple plays. I don't want to take anything away from them, but we also had a coverage on. We didn't execute that coverage when we fouled a three-point shooter. That wasn't part of the plan either. So the game got to where it was. We missed a couple free throws. The game got to where it was, and at that point, the guys got to find a way to dig themselves out of it. You have to perform. At the end of the day, when it boils down to it, you have to be diligent about what you're doing and what you're committed to and what the game plan is. You have to execute all those things, but then at the end of the day, you have to perform, and that was a great individual play. It's almost fitting that you win the game with a defensive play versus something offensively. So he got the stop. They fouled him, and then he stepped up and made his free throws. We talk about that all the time. We try to simulate it at practice, which is difficult, but when your name gets called and when you get to that free throw line and your name gets called, go ahead and stand up and perform. And so he did, and so that was really good. It's great for him, great for us for that moment.
Sticking with talking about Meechie, I mean, not just the steal, not just the free throws, the 24 points. Even when he's on the bench, he's the most fired up guy there and coaching the guys. Just what can you say about him? We talk about him all the time, but what does he bring to this team, especially in a game like this?
Yeah, he's got tremendous energy. He's got tremendous belief in himself, and he's got even more belief in his team, in his coaching staff, in his methodology. And so he is, every kid wants to play 40 minutes and score 30 points every game. And so when he's out of the game, obviously he wants to be in the game. And he's an accomplished player, but he's waving the towel as much or more than anybody. I hear his voice in timeouts, and I don't hear a whole lot in timeouts, but I hear his voice in timeouts when he's not in the game. And that's important. And he's not the only one, but I think that's a characteristic that our team embodies that I think has helped us, win games, and more importantly than win games, it's helped us grow to the team that we are right now.
Coach, had that sluggish start at the beginning of the game. It looked like towards about the 11-minute mark, you kind of brought that offense a little bit higher. What did you see that you kind of every now and then brought them up higher to open up the baseline lanes? Just curious what you saw.
Yeah, I mean, space is our friend. I mean, that's what we have preached. I think it's part of the reason why I want to have skilled players so that we can create more space on the floor and more opportunity to take advantage if a team starts being aggressive, which they didn't start being aggressive. They were aggressive throughout. And you can try to simulate that. It's hard at practice. So once we settled down a little bit, we did. We played with a little more space on the floor, and it allowed us to attack. I think that was the biggest thing. Zach attacked early in the game. Zach attacked to the rim and got fouled. Meechie attacked and thought he was going to dunk on the guy, and then he laid the ball in. Even the last play of the first half, Meechie attacked. Now, he went to a runner instead of the layup, but he attacked. So I thought that was the biggest part of loosening helping loosen up the defense. They're not too loose defensively, but I thought it helped us a little bit to be able to do that. We also ran a couple plays with some back screens and got the ball right around the basket and got a couple easy ones that way. It's hard to do two things. It's hard to pressure like that and then still recover back to the basket. They're athletic enough to do it, and they do it most nights. We were fortunate to be able to take advantage a couple times.
With the defense, how happy are you with the progress you guys have made since the first game of the year, or even before that with the preseason, and then winning the rebound battle? I mean, how important do you feel like that was in making a difference in winning the game today?
I mean, I've always preached the defensive side of the thing, but I love offense also. I mean, I joke around and say I don't know if I'm the most defensive-minded offensive coach or the most offensive-minded defensive coach. Defense matters to me. I want that to be our identity, and it was, again, today. And so if you look, some of the numbers would suggest that in our half-court offense we're extremely efficient. And those numbers would be right, but I think the biggest part of what we're doing is on the defensive side of the ball. So our growth defensively has been tremendous. I've been really happy with that. We just have guys that are trying really hard defensively, and they're sticking to some principles that we have for the most part, other than the foul on the three-point play at the end.
Can you just talk about your team kind of matching that physicality of Tolu Smith and Bell and kind of bouncing off Jack's question, winning that rebound battle?
Yeah. If you don't do that in this game, well, why would we go through layups, lines, and stretch and do a scouting report? Why would you bother coming out to the floor if you're not going to compete with that team physically? It's a waste of your time. And so we knew we had to. That was not a suggestion. It was you had to do that or you weren't going to have a chance to win the game, really. So we did. I was happy with the guys. I thought we were physical and we were active. I thought that's where it boiled down to. Defensively, rebounding was on either side of the board before the game, the scouting report board. Defensively, again, it was a must. You had to do that to minimum break even with them. But then also on the offensive side of it, because they switch so many things, because they get in scramble mode, I don't mean that negatively, that's just they do it really well. Because of those things, sometimes you end up with Colin Murray-Boyles, for example, under the rim against one of their perimeter guys, and that's an advantage for us. And so we talked a lot about making sure we went to try to get our fair share of second chance opportunities.
You've talked about defense kind of in the big picture, but specifically the end of games, that's already 3 times this year. You've been up 2 in the last 10 seconds and gotten a stop. What is it about this team do you think maybe in those moments can especially bear down and get a stop when it has to happen?
I think you have to try really hard. I think you have to be grounded in your principles, because you have to understand at that time every team's running. They're reaching into their bag of goodies, and they're pulling out the best play that they have at that time, and probably with the player that's playing the best at that time. So I think you have to be so grounded in your principles and disciplined. I think you have to try really hard, and then occasionally you have to make an individual play. Michi made an individual play right there. All right, we ended up doing it with a steal, but we were also prepared to do it with just staying in front of the ball or making a switch late in the game that we needed to, or digging the ball out of the post, or whatever it was, but he made an individual play.
So you guys have been in situations this season where foul trouble has kind of come up, but this was probably the game where you guys had the largest number of players reaching foul trouble. How do you as a coach balance who you put in when you've got BJ with 4 fouls and Colin's got 3? How do you manage that? Because for the most part this season, it's really been one player that you can just kind of sub in for a few minutes.
Yeah, it's one. I think it's a huge advantage to have the total number of players that I feel comfortable putting out in the game. And while he didn't get into the game today, Eli Sparkman is one of those guys that I feel comfortable putting into a game. our number of guys you can put, and he played a lot in the last time we played Mississippi State. So I think just having a lot of guys that you can put in there, that's a part of it. But there are a lot of things that are going on. What are they trying to do? At one point, they were specifically targeting getting the ball to the post. At another time, they were really putting their head down and driving, right? Guys make moves, and then you try to make another move. And so while they're trying to do one thing, you can put one guy in with fouls because he's not involved in those actions as much. Well, then they start going another way, and you have to, or personnel. You have to switch sometimes based on their personnel. And then I go by gut and feel on that. I don't automatically just take somebody out of the game because they have a couple fouls. There's a lot of factors in it to me. I just normally don't believe in sitting a guy for the entire half and then he's going to come out in the second half and be a productive player. But I think ultimately, to get to your question, is that depth is the root of how we're able to sustain some of that foul trouble.
How big was it against a team as good defensively as Mississippi State to have Zach Davis and Collie Murray Boyles come off the bench and be able to give you points and other non-scoring contributions?
Yeah, those guys are growing daily. I mean, they're both young guys. Even though Zach was here last year, he's still a young guy. And Colin is a baby to this. This is particularly with the fact that he had the mono and he's missed the first how many ever games. So he's really getting his first taste. He's been around SEC basketball his whole life. So for him to go out there in his hometown and be able to contribute in the way that he did in his first SEC game was tremendous. But both of those guys were great contributors, and they both found themselves in the game late in the game, right? And that speaks volumes to my belief in what they were getting done at that time. And so it's great to have young guys. It's fun to watch them develop. It happens on a day-to-day basis, honestly. But they played some key minutes for us, key rebounds. I know Zach kept a couple rebounds alive. He got it in there and rebounded in a crowd for a skinny guy. He's not afraid to get in there and mix it up. And then Colin is just a naturally gifted rebounder. He's got good hands, good timing, good athleticism. So two great teammates and just fun guys to be around on a regular basis.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.